The roar reverberated across the stadium, 60,000 voices blending together, creating a sound that echoed like thunder. Lu Ruyan was seated in Zone 2, Section 14, VIP Row 3, Seat 18. It was the best spot Dengcheng could secure for her on short notice. I knew that because she told me so in her messages I hadn't yet been ready to finish reading. She had changed 3 times before leaving the house, finally settling on the dress I once told her suited her best. The blue one, the one that made her eyes look like a summer sky. Her phone lay face down in her lap, 17 unread messages forming a weight she deliberately ignored. Down on the field, the players warmed up, their movements steady, precise, and practiced. Dengcheng, number 7, stood out among the lineup. Even from a distance, I recognized his confident stride, the one she used to praise so much that it became etched in my memory. Around her, the crowd was shouting and waving flags, the atmosphere burning with fanaticism. This was his final night, the moment of glory she had chosen to witness. 2 colossal screens on either side of the field lit up. It must be the pre-match introduction, the sponsor logos, a few video advertisements. She just glanced over, and then her phone vibrated once, then again, then continuously, as if someone was calling without stopping. She ignored it. The woman beside her gasped softly, then the man behind her, and the entire grandstand seemed to hold its breath simultaneously. She looked up at the screen and froze. It wasn't Dengcheng. It was me, Chi Boda. I was standing on the stage of the Urban Innovation Center, the venue for the National Outstanding Technology Awards ceremony, the place where she was supposed to be sitting in the front row, the place she told me she couldn't attend due to an urgent work emergency. On the screen, I accepted the crystal trophy, the stage lights reflecting thousands of fragmented beams of light. I was wearing the charcoal gray suit that she had chosen with me 6 months ago. Hey, I'm buying it because there will come a day when you need it for a special occasion. I smiled calmly. Everyone thought I was composed, professional. But anyone who had ever loved her would know that the corner of my mouth was strained, my shoulders slightly tensed. I was trying to keep myself from shaking. The text scrolled beneath the screen. Chi Boda, 28, CTO of Kaifeng Group. Recipient of the Breakthrough Innovator of the Year Award. The screen split in 2. Half showed me giving my speech. The other half was the auditorium of the ceremony. 2,000 people in luxurious evening wear, applauding non-stop. The camera panned across the front row, showing an empty seat, a small plaque neatly placed on it with her name, Lu Ruyan. The entire stadium where she was sitting was live-streaming the ceremony where I stood. Why were they doing this? This was a sports match, not a technology event. Then her phone vibrated fiercely, messages, missed calls, and social media notifications flooded in non-stop. She couldn't read a single word. The man behind her leaned forward, excitedly saying, "Isn't this amazing? They're live-streaming the Technology Awards ceremony." The entire automation system of this stadium, every screen, every camera, was designed by that guy, Chi Boda. A woman across the aisle added, her voice thrilled, the stadium management wanted to honor him. His company, Kaifeng, designed all the digital infrastructure here, from the control system to the sound and lighting. They're showing this moment for all the spectators to witness. The screen changed again, now showing me mid-speech. My voice echoed throughout the stadium where she sat. Every syllable resonated clearly. This award is the result of 3 years of non-stop work, of countless sleepless nights, and of a team that believed in something many considered impossible. I spoke slowly, every word was calculated. Beneath the stage lights, I could see her face appear on the big screen. Pale, confused, nowhere to hide. And in that moment, I knew every round of applause, every light, every title no longer mattered. When I started this project, people said that integrating an AI-controlled infrastructure into such a large space would take at least 10 years, but we completed it in 30 months. The crowd in the stadium erupted in cheers. 60,000 people were celebrating a person most of them had never heard of, applauding a technological achievement they hadn't even considered. Lu Ruyan's phone rang. It was her mother. She declined the call. On stage, I continued. I want to thank everyone who has accompanied me on this journey. My team, my mentors, my colleagues. I paused for a beat. And I also want to give a word of thanks to those who are not here tonight. Those who chose a different path for things they deemed more important. The camera lens zoomed in slightly. I did not take my eyes off the audience at the awards ceremony. Sometimes, I continued, my voice measured, the greatest innovations come from learning to truly understand what, and who is worthy of our dedication. I raised the trophy once, not in celebration but like a period mark. Then I stepped off the stage. The colossal screens in the stadium immediately switched back to the pre-match introductions. But everything was already over in a different sense. Lu Ruyan's phone was still ringing non-stop. Around her, whispers spread like wildfire. Did you see that empty seat? Oh my God, who ditches someone on the most important night of his life? I can't believe it, she really didn't show up. Meanwhile, Yi Dengqing appeared on the screen, giving an interview on the sidelines. He spoke about the game, the championship cup and glory, his voice confident, captivating, his smile the same as always, the smile that had once made her stop. 8 months ago, I still remember the night she told me she had met Yi Dengqing at a business gathering, the kind of event I rarely attended. He was the type of person I never was, outgoing, natural, charming from the first minute. The kind of man who walks into a room and commands all eyes. A professional athlete with a camera-loving smile. When he asked for her number, she felt her heart flutter, a feeling hard to name, exciting, noticed, chosen by someone who could choose anyone. At the time, I was working over 80 hours a week, immersed in this stadium project. I came home after midnight and left before dawn. Our conversations were reduced to a few tired sentences as we brushed past each other. She felt abandoned, forgotten, and overlooked. And then Yi Dengqing offered her attention, excitement, and the possibility of something new. Their first coffee date was accidental. The second was no longer so innocent. By the fourth meeting, she started lying about where she was going. By the eighth, she was no longer sure which relationship was real and which was merely an escape. Then 6 weeks ago, I told her about tonight's ceremony. We were sitting in the kitchen amidst takeout containers. My face must have been alight with an emotion she said she hadn't seen in me for a long time, pride. They nominated me for Breakthrough Innovator of the Year, I said softly. The ceremony is on the 23rd. Will you come with me? She answered immediately, without hesitation, of course. I'll be there. I wouldn't miss it. But then Yi Dengqing texted. The final match was the same day, the same time. I need you there, Ruyan. You're my lucky charm, I play better when you're watching. She checked my calendar and saw the ceremony coincided perfectly with the match. And then she made a calculation, he'll understand, he always understands. Awards ceremonies were boring, full of long speeches. A final match, however, was glory, passion, the feeling of being part of something big. 3 days ago, she fabricated a work emergency, a client crisis that needed immediate, non-delegable handling. Terrible timing. But what can I do? I looked at her for a long time, my eyes unreadable, then just nodded. I understand, I said. Do what you need to do. She smiled with relief. Perhaps a little guilty, but mostly relieved. Now, Lu Ruyan sat in Zone 2, Section 14, among 60,000 people all witnessing my moment, chi bodas, appearing on the colossal screens around the field. But the feeling inside her was completely different. Her phone rang again. This time it was my mother, then my sister, and then even Zaxa, her best friend who had known me since college. She declined all of them. The game started, but Lu Ruyan couldn't concentrate. She watched Yi Dengqing run, turn, and chase the ball. But every few minutes, the screens around the field lit up with score updates from other matches, sponsor ads, and slow-motion replays. And occasionally, just for a few brief seconds, images from the Technology Awards ceremony reappeared, me receiving congratulations, shaking hands with colleagues, taking photos with other innovators. And in every wide shot, the empty seat in the front row remained, visible like a wound. Her mind involuntarily drifted back 3 years. They met in a bookstore, reaching for a technical notebook at the same time, hands touching on the shelf. I had smiled an apology, insisting she take the book. She had firmly insisted I take it. Then they ended up at the cafe next door, forgetting about the book, talking until the staff began stacking chairs and sweeping up. Back then, I was just a software engineer at a mid-tier tech company, ambitious yet skeptical, with many ideas but unsure who would listen. She worked in marketing, eager for promotion, believing she had something to prove. We clicked naturally, as if two people had always been waiting to find each other without knowing they were searching. The first year was easy. Weekends wandering the city together, late nights talking about impossible futures, an intimacy that made others envious. I supported her during her promotion campaign, staying up late with her to practice presentations, and she was the first to encourage me to pitch my idea for the automation system, telling me I was genuinely good when I doubted myself. After the second year, I secured funding. I founded Kaifeng Group with 2 partners, renting a small garage as an office. Work consumed me, but she understood, building something from scratch always required sacrifice. She took care of everything, the apartment, the bills, the small things in life, so I could fully pursue my dream. By the 3rd year, that dream began to take shape: contracts, reputation, this very stadium project. But as my work grew, the time for her shrank. Conversations became fragmented, and the distance between us grew wider. And into that void, Yi Dengqing stepped in with his effortless charm and the simple attention I could no longer give her. She never intended for things to go that far, never meant to betray, but Yi Dengqing made her feel seen, felt heard, in a way a person buried in code and contracts like me no longer did. Yi Dengqing was the one who texted first, remembered small details, made plans, and never cancelled for an urgent meeting. I noticed, of course, I wasn't blind. I saw her look at her phone while we ate dinner, saw the uneasy look in her eyes when it vibrated. I also saw the questions in my own head, but I never asked. I didn't interrogate, didn't force, didn't set conditions. I just kept working, kept building, kept believing that at some point she would realize what she truly wanted. And now I understood that belief was my own personal test for her. The scoreboard on the field flashed. The first half ended, Yi Dengqing's team was leading by 1 goal. The screen switched to displaying statistics, audience reactions, and then commercials. And then, a segment appeared, Innovation Spotlight. Lu Ruyan's heart plummeted. The segment was about my company, Kaifeng Group, about the infrastructure system that was running this entire stadium. Interviews with engineers, images of the control room, and the server system appeared. A short video showed me explaining, our artificial intelligence technology controls everything from lighting, audience flow, to emergency response protocols. My voice echoed over the panoramic images of the stadium, filled with lights and people. Tonight, every person in this stadium is experiencing the result of technology created to make large-scale events safer, more efficient, and more connected than ever before. And as my voice resonated through thousands of speakers amidst the crowd's cheers, Lu Ruyan just sat there, rigid, her eyes seeing nothing but the empty chair manifesting in her mind. My goal has always been this, not just to innovate for its own sake, but to create technology that can serve people in truly meaningful ways. The feature ended, and the crowd in the stadium roared again. Lu Ruyan heard the people around her discussing, their voices filled with excitement and admiration. I can't believe she skipped her boyfriend's night of honor to come here and cheer. Someone behind her laughed. That's rough. Maybe they already broke up, another voice replied, half-jokingly. She looked down at her phone, 23 unread messages. She opened the first one from Zaxa. I'm sitting 3 rows behind the empty seat with your name on it. All the cameras here have panned over it a dozen times. Everyone sees it, everyone is talking. Call me right now. She scrolled down to her mother's message. Ruyan, what is going on? Why aren't you at Chi Boda's awards ceremony? The next message was from my sister. He spent 2 hours yesterday checking every detail for tonight. He just wanted you to be proud of him. Where are you? A group chat with college friends also popped up. Did you really miss the most important night of his life? What the hell, Ruyan? Social media was worse. Someone at the ceremony had posted a photo of the empty seat with her name plaque attached. The post had over 17,000 shares. The comments ranged from sympathetic to sarcastic. Imagine achieving something that great and your loved one isn't there. That empty seat says it all. She could only be absent if she were in the hospital, no other reason is excusable. A few people had connected the dots, dug up social media accounts, and realized she was tagged in photos taken at the stadium posted by friends. The story was formed before she could stop it. Tech innovator is honored at a prestigious awards ceremony. His girlfriend skips the event to attend her lover's match. Everything was exposed when the very technology he created live-streamed his victory to 60,000 people. The story was too perfect, too ironic, too viral. Lu Ruyan's hands trembled as she scrolled the screen. The match entered the second half. She tried to focus on Yi Dengqing, on the reason she was here, but the atmosphere had changed. She felt every eye was on her, scrutinized, judged, even though in reality, no one knew who she was. In the 73rd minute, Yi Dengqing scored. The stadium exploded. He ran toward the section where she was sitting, his arms wide open, his face radiant with triumph. The camera followed him closely. The colossal screens showed a full view. And in a small corner underneath, fleetingly, almost unnoticed, was the image of Lu Ruyan in Zone 2, Section 14, a blur in Row 3, Seat 18, head bowed, staring at her phone amidst the sea of people cheering in celebration. Someone would clip that segment. Someone would merge it with the footage from the ceremony. Someone would complete the narrative. Her phone vibrated, a text from Yi Dengqing. Did you see that? Did you see my goal? Amazing. Where are you sitting? She didn't reply. Her fingers were frozen. She couldn't type a single word. The match ended. Yi Dengqing's team won the championship. The celebration took place on the field. Confetti flew. The trophy was raised. The players hugged amidst the roar. The colossal screens replayed every moment in perfect clarity, every angle, every second, all captured by the camera system that I, Chi Boda, had designed. Every image of that victory, every sparkling scene, was a result of my technology. But Lu Ruyan just sat there motionless as the grandstands slowly emptied around her. Yi Dengqing texted again, "I'll meet you at the South Gate after the press interviews. About 20 minutes. She looked at the screen, her fingers shaking. 20 minutes to think about what she would say, how she would explain, how she would pretend that tonight hadn't caused everything inside her to collapse. She walked through the stadium corridors like a sleepwalker. Around her, fans laughed, shouted in celebration. Someone accidentally bumped her shoulder, apologized, and hurried away. The world was celebrating, and she was sinking. Outside, the night air hit her face like a verdict. She stood near the South Gate, watching the stream of people pass by, then opened her phone again. 2 hours ago, I, Chi Boda, had posted a single item. A photo of the trophy placed on a table. The stage lights reflected on the crystal surface, with no caption, no tags, no mention of the empty seat or the stadium or anything else, just the achievement standing quietly alone. Beneath the post, hundreds of comments flooded in. Congratulations mixed with questions and sarcastic implications directed at a person who was not named, but everyone understood it was her. Lu Ruyan closed the app 25 minutes later. Yi Dengqing appeared, his hair still damp, the championship medal sparkling around his neck. He was radiant, full of energy, surrounded by teammates and hangers-on. When he saw her, he broke away from the crowd, rushed over, pulled her close, and kissed her with a kiss that tasted of victory and champagne. "Did you see?" he asked, his eyes blazing. "That goal, that cup. This is the biggest night of my career." "I saw," Ruyan replied softly, her voice choked. "This is just the beginning," he said, so excited he barely noticed her confusion. "There's a celebration party at Fengyun Club. Everyone's going. Are you coming too?" The question didn't really need an answer because he had already turned, waved at his teammates, and pulled her along. She let herself be dragged. What else could she do? Fengyun Club was chaotic with music, lights, and bodies pressed together in the intoxication of victory. Yi Dengqing was the eye of the storm, recounting every move, every shot, receiving congratulations, drinking continuously, laughing brightly. Lu Ruyan stood beside him, smiling when necessary, nodding when someone spoke, but empty inside. She felt like a ghost, present but not really there. Around 1 a.m., she left her seat, saying she was going to the restroom and never returned. She called a car and went home alone. While Yi Dengqing was still in the celebratory circle, it would probably take him another hour to realize she was gone. The apartment was shrouded in darkness when she returned. I wasn't home yet. The awards ceremony had an after-party that could last until late. She had time, but time for what, she didn't know. She sat down on the sofa, didn't turn on the light, still wearing the blue dress. The dress I once said made her eyes look like a summer sky, and stared blankly into space. Her phone vibrated, not Dengcheng but Zaxa. The message was long, sharp as a knife. I know you don't want to hear this, but I have to say it. Chi Boda deserves better than this. He deserves better than an empty seat, better than having the biggest moment of his life broadcast to 60,000 strangers while the person he loves is with someone else. You need to ask yourself what you truly want. Because this half-in, half-out way of living is destroying him, and honestly, it's destroying you too. Call me when you're ready to be honest. Lu Ruyan read the message 3 times, then she placed the phone face down and closed her eyes. Around 3 a.m., she heard the door open, the familiar footsteps, light, careful, trying not to wake her. She kept her breathing steady, pretending to be asleep. She heard me stop at the doorway of the living room, felt my gaze directed towards her. I stood there in silence for a few seconds, then the footsteps resumed, fading toward the bedroom. When all sounds vanished, she opened her eyes, leaving only darkness and emptiness. The next morning, when she woke up, I was already gone. There was no note, no text message, nothing but absence. She called in sick to work and spent the entire day scrolling online. The story had fully formed overnight. Tech genius's girlfriend skips prestigious awards ceremony to watch lovers match, exposed when his own invention livestreams his moment of triumph to where she was sitting. News sites ran headlines, forums buzzed, and social media boiled over. Most of the outrage was directed at her, even though no one knew Lu Ruyan's real name. But I knew, and she knew too, no name needed. Everyone understood who that person was. The girlfriend, Lu Ruyan, became a symbol of betrayal, of taking one's partner for granted, of making the wrong choice. A few comments tried to defend her. We don't know the whole story. Maybe they had already broken up, everyone makes mistakes. But most were harsh, and the worst part was, they were all true. Around midday, Dengcheng called her. His voice was hoarse from drinking, tinged with confusion. Where did you disappear to last night? I looked for you around 2 a.m. but couldn't find you. Did you go home? You didn't say anything. You were busy celebrating, she replied softly. Oh well yeah, he stammered, then changed his tone. Did you see what everyone is saying online? About some girlfriend skipping her boyfriend's awards ceremony to go to a soccer match. People are saying that match was mine. Is that true? Was that you? She couldn't answer. Ruyan, he said slowly, is that about you and Chi Boda? The way he spoke my name coldly, as if I were a stranger unworthy of attention, made something inside her snap. Yes, she whispered. The other end was silent for a long moment, then he finally sighed. God, I didn't. I mean, you said it was an urgent work thing. You told me he understood. I lied, she murmured. To him and to you. To both of you. I lied about everything. She heard him sigh, long and weary. Look, I like you, you know that. But I don't want to get involved in this kind of mess. Things are getting complicated now. And actually, they were already complicated. Yeah, she replied softly. Maybe we should take a break until things calm down. I can't afford any bad press right now, especially with sponsorship contracts pending. Lu Ruyan almost laughed, a dry, joyless sound. Fine, she said. A break sounds good. Then she hung up, not waiting for him to say anything more. The apartment suddenly felt strangely vast. Empty. She walked through the rooms that had been their home for 3 years, but everything now felt unfamiliar. My workspace was still neat, the wall calendar crowded with project schedules and tasks. The bookshelf where my technical journals mingled with her marketing books. The kitchen where we used to make breakfast together every Sunday morning was now silent, cold. All the pieces of a life once built together were now so shattered they were unrecognizable. I came home around 6 p.m. She heard the key in the lock, the slow footsteps in the hallway. I appeared at the living room doorway, still wearing the suit from the night before, my face tired, my eyes blank. We looked at each other in silence for a long time. How was the awards ceremony? She finally asked, just to say something. Good, I replied. My voice was deliberately calm. The award was unexpected. The public reaction was also significant. I saw a segment on the stadium screen, she said quietly. I know. Of course I know. I'm the one who designed that system. I knew exactly what would be shown, where and when. Did you plan that? She asked, her voice choked. The live stream to the stadium, did you know I would be there? I leaned against the door frame, my gaze fixed on her. I planned the integration. Yes, it was part of the contract. Stadium management wanted to showcase the digital infrastructure system during the opening season. But I didn't know you would be there. No, not until this morning, when I saw the photos online. You said you understood, she said softly, when I told you I had an urgent work matter. I did understand, I replied, looking directly into her eyes. I understood exactly what you chose. The words fell into the space between us, heavy as a verdict. Chiboda, how long? I asked, my voice low and deliberate. What? How long have you and him been together? She no longer had the strength to lie. 8 months. I nodded slowly, as if that only confirmed something I had known for a long time. Since I started the stadium project. Right. I didn't mean for it to be like this, she tried to say, but her voice trembled weakly. I remained silent, no longer angry, no longer hurt, just emptiness. She lowered her head, and I just watched her as if observing a structure I had spent 3 years building, now collapsing before my eyes. But it did happen. My voice was still calm, composed, not raising even slightly. You made a choice, Ruyan. For the past 8 months, you chose every single day. Coffee dates instead of honesty, his matches instead of our life. His attention instead of my trust. You were never here. She blurted it out, then immediately regretted sounding defensive like a child. You were always working, always at the office, always choosing the project over me. I was building something, I countered, my voice low but heavy as steel. I was building a future for us. Every hour I worked, every effort I made was for us. I straightened up, stepping away from the doorframe, my voice gradually lowering. But you're right, I wasn't here. I was too focused on creating something meaningful that I didn't realize you had already decided I wasn't enough for you anymore. That's not fair, she whispered, almost silently. Fair. For the first time, emotion broke through my composure. You want to talk about fair? I looked at her, my eyes cold. I trusted you, Ruyan. When you came home late, when your phone vibrated during dinner, when you were distant, cold. I believed you just needed time to figure out what you truly wanted. I gave you space, gave you a chance to be honest. And in return, you lied for 8 months. 8 months of lies. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she fought to keep them from falling. Last night, I continued, my voice measured, every word hardening like metal. I stood on a stage accepting an award for the work that swallowed 3 years of my life. A work that will change the way people think about infrastructure and automation. Something that represents every effort I have dedicated my career to building. And the person I wanted to share that moment with, the person who should have been beside me, chose to be somewhere else for someone else. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice like a thread. I know, I replied, my gaze never leaving hers. But an apology can't rebuild trust. It can't erase the choices you made, and it can't change the fact that when it mattered most, you chose him. I turned, walking toward the bedroom. She heard me open the closet, then the sound of the suitcase wheels dragging across the wooden floor. What are you doing? Giving you what you clearly want, I replied from the room. My voice was level. Space, clarity, and the freedom to find out who you truly want to be. Chiboda, please. She called softly, desperately. I walked out, the suitcase nearly packed in my hand. My movements were quick, decisive, without a wasted gesture. I'll stay at my sister's for a while, then we'll talk about rearranging things. But for now, I paused, looking straight at her. I'm done, Ruyan. I'm done waiting for you to choose me. I'm done being the safe option you return to after expending all your energy on someone else. It's not like that. Then what is it like? I turned back, genuinely facing her for the first time, my eyes sharp and cold. Explain it to me. Make me understand how the person I love, the person I built a whole life with, could abandon me on the most important night of my career to watch another man play soccer. Help me understand what that means. She remained silent because no words could make that acceptable. I zipped the suitcase. The harsh sound echoed dryly in the quiet room. I deserve more than an empty seat with my name on it. I stopped, looking directly at her. I deserve more than being a vague footnote in someone else's story. And honestly, you deserve more too, more than lying to two men and yourself about what you truly want. I walked toward the door. I love you, she said, her voice shattering, almost pleading. My hand was on the doorknob. I paused for half a second. Maybe, I said softly, but not enough. Not in the way that matters most, not in the way it showed. Then I opened the door and walked out. The apartment swallowed her in the heavy silence. The next 3 months passed like a blurred gray streak. She lived like a shadow, went to work, came home, slept, and repeated. Dengqing texted her only twice, both times asking when they could meet again, then quickly went silent when she didn't show enthusiasm. She still saw him on social media. A new girl appeared in his photos only a few weeks later. Younger, prettier, simpler, less complicated. She realized she had been replaced quickly, easily, as if she were just a spare part in someone's life. My absence, Chi Boda's, was omnipresent in Lu Ruyan's life. The empty spaces where my belongings used to be, the silence where my voice and footsteps once echoed. What she felt most deeply wasn't the loneliness of losing someone, but the loneliness of knowing she had destroyed that relationship herself. She moved out of the old apartment, relocating to a smaller one across town, selling belongings, dividing assets, handling every tiny procedure of ending a shared life. I behaved with utter professionalism, communicating through lawyers, signing all papers without difficulty, making the end as swift and painless as possible. We only met briefly one last time when she came to retrieve the last few items. I looked healthier, clearer-eyed, and perhaps more present than ever. Maybe it was only when she left that I truly returned to myself. I wasn't angry, didn't blame her, wasn't resentful. I simply helped her carry the boxes to her car and softly said, "I wish you peace." It was that kindness, that absolute composure, that hurt her more than any accusation could have. Zaxa stayed in touch, though their friendship had changed. Less joy, more truth. "You really messed things up," Zaxa said plainly one evening while they were drinking together. "But making a mistake doesn't mean you can't fix yourself. It just proves you're human. The question is what you're going to do next." Lu Ruyan didn't have an answer. She buried herself in work, taking on extra projects, piling on tasks, working late just to avoid hearing the silence of the empty apartment and the weight of her regrets. One Tuesday evening, as she sat in front of her computer screen, her phone vibrated with a news alert. Kaifeng Group had successfully raised $15 million in Series C funding, expanding into the international market. Her hand trembled as she clicked to open the article. Pictured was my face. No longer the neutral, tired expression from the awards night, but a completely different look, confident, composed, and steady. The eyes of a person who had moved past the pain and found a new purpose. The article detailed Kaifeng's expansion, new contracts in Europe and Asia, and the groundbreaking applications in infrastructure technology that we were developing. I was quoted extensively, mostly speaking about the vision. "The technology we build is not meant to replace human connection," I said, "but to reinforce it, to create spaces where people can gather more safely, efficiently, and meaningfully. That has always been the goal from the start." Accompanying the article was a photo of me with my team at the investment announcement. And beside me, a hand rested lightly on my sleeve in a professional yet intimate gesture, was a woman Ruyan had never seen. The caption read, "Dr. Chen Mingxia, Kaifeng's new Chief Operating Officer." Lu Ruyan looked at that photo for a long time. Chen Mingxia was beautiful, polished, exuding intelligence and confidence. The kind of woman whose resume commanded admiration. The kind of person who was always present when needed, who understood sacrifice, vision, and building things together. The kind of person I deserved. She closed the article, put down her phone, and sat in silence. 3 days later, her mother called. "Did you hear the news, Ruyan? Chiboda is getting married." The sentence hit her like a physical blow to the chest. "What?" "Someone in my book club has a son who works at Kaifeng. He said Boda proposed to the COO, the woman who was in those pictures in the paper last week. They've been together for 7 months. Everyone says they're perfect, 2 talented people building a career together." Lu Ruyan couldn't breathe. "Ruyan, are you still listening to me?" I'm listening, Mom. "I know this is hard, but maybe it's for the best. Maybe this is your time to close this chapter. Chiboda has moved on, and you should too. You deserve peace." After ending the call, she sat in her car in the company's underground parking garage, clutching the steering wheel. And finally, after months of suppression, she cried. Not the gentle, cinematic kind of tears, but the ragged, choked, raw kind of grief. The naked pain of finally realizing she had truly lost the only person who had ever loved her with everything he had. Only when everything was permanently lost did Lu Ruyan truly understand what she had possessed: trust, companionship, and a man who loved her deeply enough to allow her to choose her own path. And she had traded it all for a few minutes of attention, for the brief excitement of being desired by someone new. She had chosen wrong, and now, she had to live the rest of her life with that truth, that she had lost something she could never get back. 6 months later, she saw my wedding announcement, Chiboda's, in the newspaper's society section. Chiboda and Chen Mingsha held a small, intimate wedding ceremony, attended only by family and close friends. The photo showed the 2 of them, foreheads touching, laughing at each other, their eyes filled with palpable joy. No invitation was sent to the ex-girlfriend, the one who had skipped the biggest moment of his life to watch another man play. She wasn't surprised, didn't expect it, and certainly didn't deserve it. Yet, when she saw the picture, her heart still pinched. Lu Ruyan folded the newspaper carefully, placed it in the recycling bin, and put on her coat for work. Life went on. Seasons changed. The story about the girlfriend who ditched her boyfriend's awards ceremony for a match gradually faded from social media, replaced by new scandals, new betrayals, fresher tragedies. She became an ordinary person among countless others who had made a mistake, realized it too late, and was forced to live with the weight of it. She dated sometimes good, decent men, but none of the relationships lasted. They all ended the same way. She retreated, afraid to trust her own feelings, afraid she didn't deserve anything genuine. Yi Dengqing vanished from her life, as completely as a short note in her book of mistakes. Only Zaxa remained, a friend honest enough to speak the truth, even when it hurt. "You did a terrible thing," Zaxa said one evening, 2 years after everything fell apart. "But a terrible thing doesn't make you a terrible person. It makes you someone who has to live with the consequences and has to choose differently from now on." "What if I can't?" Lu Ruyan asked. "Can't what?" "Can't choose differently. What if I'm just the type of person who breaks good things?" Zaxa looked at her for a long time and said softly, "Then you will always be that way." "But I don't think so. I think you're learning, and learning is valuable." "Is that enough?" Lu Ruyan didn't know. 5 years after that night at the stadium, she saw Chiboda again for the last time. She was walking through the downtown shopping area when she saw him across the street, emerging from a building with Chen Mingsha. They were laughing about something, her arm gently looped through his eyes entirely focused on the person beside him, listening, attentive, warm. They looked truly happy, not the impulsive, intense kind of happiness from the beginning, but the steady, solid kind of peace shared by 2 people who had built something genuinely stable, genuinely sincere together. Mingsha's hand rested on her abdomen. She was visibly pregnant. Lu Ruyan froze, pressing herself against the glass wall of a nearby store, watching them pass by. Chiboda did not look her way, nor did he feel her presence. He was too engrossed in his life, his wife, his unborn child, his future. She had become exactly what she had made him feel during those 8 months of lies, invisible. When they turned the corner, she continued walking, her steps heavy but determined, because stopping was no longer an option. That night, alone in her apartment, she opened her laptop, placed her hands on the keyboard, and typed an email. the letter she had been writing in her head for the past 5 years. Dear Chiboda, I know you might not read this. You may have blocked all communication from me, and that is fair. But I still need to write, if only to say it to myself. I was wrong. Wrong about everything: priorities, loyalty, love, wrong about what matters and who truly deserved my time, my trust. I chose incorrectly over and over again. And when I finally understood what I had lost, it was too late to get it back. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I understand now. I saw everything you gave me and everything I willingly threw away. I see that empty seat and I understand its meaning: abandonment, betrayal, and proof that when I was needed most, I wasn't there. I am glad you found someone who knows how to be there for you. Someone who chooses you every day in a way I never learned. You deserved that a long time ago. I am sorry for the lies, for the pain, for the time you wasted trusting someone unworthy. I am sorry. Chiboda. Lu Ruyan read the letter twice, then she deleted it, unsent. Some apologies are born not to be spoken but to be carried for a lifetime. Some regrets are their own punishment. She closed the laptop, turned off the light. Outside the window, the city moved relentlessly. People were still making choices, living with the consequences, and moving on. The world didn't stop for anyone's mistakes. She lay in bed, staring wide-eyed at the ceiling. Images overlapped in her mind. Empty seats, stadium screens, and moments that could never be redone. She thought about the person she used to be and the person she had become, and the vast distance between the two. She thought about me, standing alone on stage accepting an award while she sat in the stands watching another man play a game. A game that ultimately meant nothing. And finally, she understood what the stadium screens that night truly reflected. It was not just my achievement but her choice. Not just my moment but her absence. The technology one had created, the thing I once said was born to connect people meaningfully, had ultimately connected her to the rawest truth about herself in the most public way possible. She had abandoned me, and 60,000 people had witnessed it. Millions more saw it online. But the most relentless witness was not the crowd, not social media, but herself. She would have to live the rest of her life with the truth that she chose wrong, that she once had love and treated it carelessly, that she had everything and exchanged it for nothing. The screens that night had shown her that truth, and from then on, she could never turn away. Somewhere else in the city, I lay beside Chun Mingsha, my hand gently placed on the warm curve of her abdomen, where the future was softly kicking beneath my palm. I had moved on, built something better, chosen the person who was worthy. And Lu Ruyan was left with the echoes of what she had destroyed, repeating endlessly like the playback on the stadium screen. She once wore my love like a given. Now it only remained as her own ghost.